Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. So I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe the best classes. We have probably got a couple weeks into Mists of Pandaria Remix, and I wanted to basically talk about the best classes that players can pick, whether that is from a DPS standpoint, a healer standpoint, and we'll talk a little bit about ults and twinking and things like that. In terms of DPS, look, the thing is, the more you play the game, the stronger you're going to get. So ultimately, at the end of the day, any DPS can be OP. But there are some really cool, interesting class combinations that I kind of want to mention players playing to kind of talk about. So some of those are, a lot of them are going to be melee DPS because of quick strike and things like that, and such quick resource generation. So things like, for example, Rogue. Super duper fun right now, especially Subtlety Rogue, the ability to generate so much resource and be able to just spam abilities. Things like Havoc Demon Hunter, also an incredibly fun class to play, mainly because of its ability, again, to just insanely resource build and to be incredibly good in terms of that melee damage and the speed at which you can run through dungeons and other content. Then we are going to have Arms Warrior. Arms Warrior is a ton of fun. Again, quick strike and the resource regeneration really kind of kicks off for it, really making it a super fun class. Shaman struggles a little bit, doesn't get as many resource regeneration abilities as other ones, especially Enhancement Shaman, but it is definitely a lot of fun to play because of all of those benefits. A lot of the melee classes that feel like they have rough kind of rotations benefit a lot. Like Enhancement Shaman needs, critical strike, things like that to really proc some of its abilities. And you'll find this true for a lot of those kind of classes. So any class where it's like, ooh, if you crit, you can proc 3 or 4 abilities. Well, the fact that you can get crit at 100% in this game mode is going to make that class feel really, really fun. So then we have a couple of spellcasters. So things like Arcane Mage, really, really fun. Similar concept to Enhancement Shami. And then of course we have Warlock, Demonology Warlock, especially because of haste and abilities like that. Just really fun to summon a whole bunch of minions that can really just do some crazy damage. That I think could really, really be a lot of fun. But I would say pretty much any mage is probably going to be a ton of fun because of all those proccing abilities and everything like that. I think Evoker is a really, really fun class to run, just because of its ability to, perform and be really, really strong. And yeah, I think ultimately that's really where things are super duper good. In terms of healers, so I think healers are probably the most simple class out of all of them. So talking about healers, we have Priest. I think Discipline Priest is really, really good, and Holy Priest. Holy Nova is just really broken, and we'll talk a little bit about Twinking and all that later on. But it's really, really broken right now. It's really, really strong, and they just have a lot of great AoE spells that really just kind of enable you to top everyone up. They work really well with the Tinker Gems. They're just really strong. Mistweaver Monk, very much the same concept. So Mistweaver Monk, really just that ability to heal up really fast as well. And again, the ability to kind of heal whilst doing damage or some kind of damage really helps with dungeons and early dungeons. And yeah, I mean, there's other healers. I mean, no healer's bad. It's the same thing, same situation as DPS. But I definitely feel like these two benefit the most because of their kind of hybridization that they have and the speed at which they can run things. But Restoration Shami is also quite interesting. Again, just Shami benefits a lot from these kind of substat cap removals. And then Evoker, like Drakfear, also interesting experience leveling from 10. But yeah, then we get to tanks. So in terms of tanks, pretty straightforward, I would say. So speaking of tanks, I think, again, you gotta think about how the substats kind of work with tanks and everything. A lot of your damage dealing tanks are going to be your best kind of tanks. Your tanks that dealt damage to heal and recover. So we look at Death Knight, Blood DK, very, very strong. We look at, you know, Demon Hunter, Vengeance Demon Hunter, very, very strong. Because they're classes that relied on substats, they relied on the ability to do damage, to heal, so they naturally benefit from the substats a lot. Protection Paddy, Protection Warrior, both decent picks. You know, Protection Paddy, Protection Warrior, very simple as well. Don't benefit so much from substats, but they're still half decent damage dealers and can do really well. And then you get, for me, Guardian Druid, which is okay. It's a really good ult runner for speed leveling. If we're talking like a class that's going to benefit huge from the substats, it's not one of those that's going to become crazy different to what it is, you know, in standard with Warcraft. With that being said, let's talk about ult running. So if you're someone who's looking to run a twink or an ult, or you know, whatever you want to call them, there's a couple classes that are above the rest. So Demon Hunter definitely sticks up there, whether you go Vengeance or Havoc, but ideally Havoc for the quick Qs for tanking. Incredibly good. So it's the speed at which you move, the double jump, you've got, you know, all your mobility that you already have, your dashes, your everything like that, but you're coupling that with all your Tinker Gems. And if you're looking to twink or just speed level, then this is obviously a super duper strong kind of class to do so. Speaking of that, we talk about Priest. So Disc Priest, Holy Priest, whichever one, both really good because of Holy Nova spam. So when your character is super strong, it's got all that extra stats. Holy Nova spam, you know, that AoE kind of dual healing and DPS, really, really strong in kind of clearing dungeons and just making your life a lot easier. Then Monk, so this is where Windweaver Monk comes in again. Same concept as the so this is Windweaver Monk, which is obviously the damage dealer. Different kind of, so this is obviously a DPS, but the big thing with Windweaver Monk is just, or Windwalker Monk, I should say, not the Mistweaver, Windwalker. Windwalker Monk is really fast, so really, really fast. Lots of good AoE for dungeon clear, really strong in that sense, making them a very viable option for this. And then finally Druid. So like I mentioned, Druid, very awesome. Guardian Druid specifically is great because of Rend. So you'll find that a lot of the classes I'm recommending for alt / twinking, etc. Yeah, like realistically speaking, a lot of AoE abilities. So the best classes for endgame, classes that scale really well, substats, mage classes, etc., rogue classes, you know, these kind of like combo classes that benefit a ton from these procs. And then you get, for your twinking, your alt leveling, tons of simple AoE, double beneficiary abilities, you know, Holy Nova, Rend, etc. Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. So I wanted to